Hey guys, what's up? It's Giuseppe. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to AI Business School. Let's get into it. Today is going to be a little different. Um, I want to talk about the question of, is WordPress truly the future of web development? Or are we currently clinging to what could be most easily understood as an outdated past? For years, I swore by WordPress. I was building countless sites. I was running ads to those sites. I was able to make them fast. I was able to make them work. I was able to make websites that were hyper competitive in the marketplace when I was competing against giant agencies with, giant budgets of 50, 60, $100,000 for these websites. Now, what I want to do here is I want to have a bit of a confession about the sites that I'm building now and how I've come to that and kind of where I've ended up after going through all of this. Because I think what's happening now is, we've come into this AI thing where I don't have to build each page by hand. Like the old shortcut I used to get when I was building websites was like, oh, I could copy a page or I could set a template of a couple parts and use those templates. And that was really good. It worked for a bit and it saved me a bit of time, but the amount of hours and time I had to spend as a solopreneur getting through this stuff was ridiculous. So um, I want to tell you about why I did say goodbye to it, and I want to talk about what I'm doing now and where I'm going with it. So without further ado, let's get it. Let's dive in, baby. So I've been working with WordPress for over a decade at this point. It's been a hot minute, and it's been a great time. I mean, I was able to start my own business, building websites for people. I would find out what they wanted. I'd find out what plugins they needed. I would charge a markup for the plugins. I would set it up. I would get everything, linked up to their stuff. But what happened was there started to be these pain points, and my pain points might be different than the ones that you were running into. My pain points came from trying to make like 50, 60 page websites and just how long that would take, right? Or even just adding blog posts or trying to hire people who could develop on WordPress or develop on Elementor or whatever other builder I might be using or whatever theme I might be using, because there's so many themes that you can't just find someone to help you build on that theme. You're now always working through finding someone who is, you know, understands Elementor or can watch a couple things or, has used said theme in the past or understands, where the marketplace where you can buy these things from or understands how plugins work or understands how Contact 7 works. So that was always like a tough thing for me. And then, I started getting comfortable with Elementor Plus. And Elementor Plus is great. Um, but then you have a giant subscription attached to it. And now, just for having like some nicer design features, you are now paying an extra $100 a month, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the package, just to have like a decent form fill or a decent like hero section that you don't have to design yourself 12 or 15 times over, right? Spending all this money trying to, make decent websites, and then the subscriptions came in, and then trying to find someone who knew the tools that I was using to help me build these things happen. And those people are impossible to find. Like they're out there and you can go on Fiverr and you can find them, but then what? Then you're handing over the keys to a client website um, to someone you met on Fiverr, and you're kind of hoping for the best. And whatever mistake they make is a mistake you make. And there's more than once where I got no-showed. Like I would hire someone to help me build a website and they just would like stop talking to me. They took a portion of the payment of whatever was happening, and they just no-showed me. They stopped talking, they stopped replying, whatever. And it was like I lost clients and I lost part of my business because of those people. And I decided that I was never going to do that again. And I blamed WordPress partially, and I blame myself because it's like, how can you go through this and trust someone to use this tool, which is like supposedly, like it says, 43 or whatever percent of the internet, but like no one else knows how to use it? How is that the case? Um, so with that, this is what happened next. So I started I started to see that the sands were kind of shifting under the web development space. What's now happening is, it's the headless CMS, the static site generators, the low code, no code platforms, right? The Squarespace advertising, the right. You want your own business? Sign up for Squarespace. Okay, well, $150 a month, and you get a site that's not even SEO optimized. So people are going in and doing that. Um, and it's safe, sure, but they're slow. The security is good, sure, but they're not usable and the designs are boring. And if you ever want to change your theme, you just have to buy a whole new subscription and cancel your last one or continue with the last one because you bought a year and then get a new one. Like you can't even change your theme. So large portion of my business was just about finding, helping these people just optimize the sites that they had that were on Squarespace because they just didn't know or no one wanted to talk to them about it, or, they just didn't have time to do it. And so, I'd be like, hey, yeah, you started on this theme, but, even if you look right here within Squarespace, like you could just make this one. It would be a lot easier. All the tools are there for you for your hair salon business or your vehicle business or your sales, whatever. Like you could just switch over and you could have this other thing that's like super there and available for you, but you just happen to pick the wrong one because when you signed up, you were kind of in a rush and you saw one that looked pretty and you thought it would work. And now you're committed to a year at $120 a month and you have to make it work because your business relies on it. And if you can't make it work, it's not a them problem, it's now a you problem because websites work and Squarespace works and everyone's advertising for this because it works, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you don't know how it works. And if you don't know how it works, they make you feel like an idiot for not making it work. And that's how those guys make their money. That's how they make their money on you. That's how they take advantage of people, business owners, entrepreneurs, people who are just tired of doing what they're doing or they just want to turn their hobby into something pretty. They're doing paintings. They want to sell painting, like all that stuff. It's all right there. And it's the same thing with, you know, with Shopify. Like, these people, they go, okay, nice. I have a clothing business and I want to get on Shopify, or, I have a secondhand clothing business. I want to get on Shopify. That's great. Do you want to list your stuff automatically? Well, you got to spend an extra $20 a month. Do you want to have an email capture? Well, it's an extra $40 a month. Do you want to, it's just like they start dinging these people who are like, maybe they're making like an extra 300 or 400 or 500 bucks a month. They're like, hey, I can kind of turn this into a thing. And then you have Shopify in here being like, yeah, you can, and you're going to pay me for the opportunity to even try it. They're like vultures. They're just like vultures and they're everywhere. And WordPress was supposed to be the way that we were going to get out of that and work through that and come to this new, you know, this way of being where you could kind of code it up yourself and have it be decent and whatever. And it just didn't end up like that. So, you know, people started leaving WordPress and they're like, look, WordPress is way too complicated. We're not doing WordPress anymore. We're going to do Squarespace or we're going to do Shopify. They have this built for me package and I can walk in and I can add my logo and it's going to look good. And I just have to add my stuff and, click and drag and drop and it's all going to be there. And it's going to be good to go. But it's not. So people left WordPress for the marketing of these other companies because they thought that they'd be able to, make some kind of thing. Well, WordPress is free, but if you go to the wrong part of WordPress, now it's a subscription and it's 20 or 10 or 20 bucks a month because you're looking at wordpress.org instead of wordpress.com. And people were like, well, I don't want to spend that. I'm going to spend that. I'm just going to get Squarespace. And then I want to build it. But if I build it, then I have to spend another, like, WordPress is this open platform where you can kind of build anything you want. But now for these premium features, you have to add stuff. And so they're like, so these other places, they kind of build that in and then they have markups on top of that. And they're taking advantage of all these people and the churn is real. The amount of people I meet who have decent websites on horrible providers, right? Like, okay, cool, you're a hairdresser. Okay, cool, you're a vet. Okay, cool, you fix cars. You're a car detailer, or you install garage doors, or you do painting. Great, so you have it. You're spending 120 bucks a month, and you're hooped. Now you're locked in for a year on a website that's not producing any business for you, and maybe you've made $1,000 all year on this side project, and now it's all going to Squarespace. And that money you were going to be making, and you thought that was going to be going in your pocket, and you thought that this website was going to be pushing you into this next stratosphere of your business, is not there anymore. So anyways, the next frontier. So with AI and with what's happening now, we're now in the space where you can develop your own um, you can develop your own apps, you can develop your own website, and you can do this. And it's changed the way that people are interacting with WordPress. You can now generate a WordPress site purely using AI. We are there, the prompts are there. I have prompts in my videos if you go back, and I'm generating websites that are, with AI and on WordPress. For example, King Trout Outfitters. This is on AI. This is on WordPress. Okanagan Concrete Ceiling. This is AI. This is WordPress. So you get the benefit, of having your site on WordPress. You get the security, you get the plugin updates, but you don't have to pay for all of this other stuff, and you're not locked into any sort of design. The only design that you're really locked into is the idea that you might need to spend 2 or 3 hours rebuilding the site. But if you already have the site developed and you have the prompt that made it, it's literally just a couple prompts and you're onwards and upwards onto the next thing. You can drag and drop the site. You can make a second one, which my next video will probably be just that, wherein, I'm just going to take what we have and I'm going to flip it into something, I'm going to turn my SEO advertising site into another site because I have a local business listing and I need to make sure that I'm optimizing that. So when it comes to this, just the summary overall, don't pay for Squarespace. You don't need Squarespace. If you're selling a lot of stuff, Shopify can be handy, but you don't need to pay for Shopify, and you don't need to pay for Squarespace. And you don't need to pay for any of those other ones, any of them. You don't need that. All you need to do is be able to think through what tools you need on your website, okay, and do the research. If you can do the research and you can think, you don't have to spend anything on these websites except for hosting. And you don't even have to pay for hosting. You could do it through Vercel, and Vercel is free hosting. And you can just launch it straight from your GitHub onto Vercel, or straight from your GitHub onto Hostinger. And you could pay for Hostinger $100 a year or whatever. And you can launch as many sites as you want on there. And they can all be on there. You can choose whatever platform you want, and you can spend whatever you want. And if you don't have time to build these things out and make them SEO, compliant, or really win clicks or whatever, fine, yeah, sure. Save the time, save the money, make it happen. But with AI now, I don't see any reason why you should be using anything other than WordPress. It's safe, it's secure. You don't have to pay for any subscriptions except for your hosting. And even then, there's an asterisk because you don't have to pay for even that. All you need is a decent prompt and a decent AI and a little bit of research, and you can put together full websites. You could put together prompts. You could put together form fills. You can use Google Analytics to track sales very easily. Benjamin at Loves Data, great videos. I'll see if I can link him in the bottom. He's taught me everything I know about Google Analytics. I've been watching it for 5 or 6 years. You don't need Shopify. You just need to take the proper codes, load them into Google Analytics, and then load Google Analytics through Tag Manager onto your site. And you can have have full tracking experience of everyone through the entire shopping situation of purchasing on your website. It's all there, from add to cards to purchases to how much you're making to how much you're spending, the cost per acquisition. It can all be there, and you don't have to spend $120 a month on Shopify to do it. So my unfiltered take is, if you don't have the time to research it, if you don't want to pay for help, someone like me to help you put this stuff together, then yes, go pay for Shopify, go pay for Squarespace. But know that you're paying 100 times the amount you need to for something which is doing 1/10 maximum of the work, because you just don't want to invest up front. And that's fine. For some people, that's what you have to do, and that's super fair. But we're at the point now where, WordPress still shines. It's still there. It's still secure. The security is there. You don't have to worry about hacks and all that kind of stuff in the same way. And it's available and you don't have to put up with this. But anyways, that's it. That's my rant for the day. Um, don't get suckered in by these Squarespace people. Don't get suckered in by Shopify. They're publicly traded companies. They're making millions off of you for a reason. And now that AI is here, it doesn't make any sense. You don't need to be doing this. Anyways, if you watch to the end, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for your time. Hit the comment button, and if you comment, I will share with you a WordPress prompt, so that way you can build your own WordPress website. Just comment, I want to build a WordPress site with AI, and I will give you the WordPress prompt, so that way you can use ChatGPT to build a WordPress site for free by yourself. Super easy. Anyways, please watch the next video. Thank you for clicking on this video. You are an absolute legend, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.